We're ready? Oh. Angela says we're ready, so I guess that means we're ready. I take all of that back. You don't have 2 minutes to get ready. You got to be ready now. So here we go. All right. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Daniel Island Community Speaker Series. My name is Steve Slifer. I am one of the Rotarians here on the island, and I guess I'll be your host for the evening. On behalf of all of the 4 sponsors of the speaker series, we've got the Rotary Club of Daniel Island, the Daniel Island Community Fund, the Daniel Island Business Association, and the Daniel Island Club. I certainly want to thank you all for joining us this evening, taking the time out of your busy schedules to be here. I see we have a full house here at the club, and I can't see you guys out there on the Zoom, but I'm sure there's a bunch of you there as well. Personally, I have to say I'm thrilled that we are now able to be back here and do these presentations live at the club. I mean, it's just yay, thanks for the club. It's just a great venue for these things. Not only do you have the opportunity to hear an exciting speaker, but you have the opportunity to kind of schmooze a little with some of your friends beforehand and maybe even have dinner with them afterwards. So it's a great venue for all of that. But I have to say that Zoom has been a useful addition over the course of the last year when we couldn't be here. It just seems like for tonight, for example, we have 250 people signed up via Zoom, another 250 or so here at the club. So there's 500 people that have signed up for this event, and that's a record breaker. So Matt, you're outdoing both recent mayors of Charleston. So there you go. And also, I would like to point out, I've been sending out these little YouTube videos, and they turned out to be pretty popular as well. The ones that we did back in November and in January with Steve Palmer and Steve Potts, they've each had more than 200 hits. So somehow, I think all this technology has really helped the speaker series reach a much broader audience than what we've been able to reach in the past. So obviously, as Rotarians, we're really thrilled about all of that. Okay, let's see. Oh yes, it's now mid-April, right? And we all know what time that is. You saw I had a little hint on your chairs walking in here. Yes, it's duck season again. Yes, it is. I didn't want you to forget that. So you all have been great supporters of the duck race. We appreciate that support. So I to give you a little bit of an update about what's happening with the duck race this year, which is coming up soon. Here is our head duck, George Roberts.
The pants are a rental, I promise. So yes, raise your hand if you've already heard about the duck race and know what it is. Yeah, okay, that's a half and half. We're preaching to the choir a little bit then. So I'm going to tell you just a little bit about it. I guess the good news is the ducks are back. So last year we took a break. We did not have a race. We did a fundraiser last year. This year we're back, and we will have an event June the 5th at Dockery's, which will soon be New Realm Brewing. It's all for charity, even though you can win a prize. So if you adopt a duck for $10, you can win $10,000 as the first place prize. I think as many of you know from the history, the race is really about helping charities, helping people. We've just come through kind of a crazy year, and it's kind of been strange. Some people come through this relatively unscathed. Here we are in the spring. We're kind of behind it. The market's up. The weather's great. There's still a lot of people that need help and have been significantly impacted by this event. So that's what we're raising money for this year. So we need all of you to help us. When you came in, you sat down, you saw the little QR codes there. Here's more good news. We're not going to be at Publix this year. I know you're going to miss that. I remember the looks. Yeah, you just wanted a bottle of Pinot Grigio and some chips, and here's these guys quacking at you. Please, we got the look. My favorite was one lady said, "I got my duck. It's already from last year. It's going to win." My favorite pitch, though, if you had kids, we bribed the kids. Hey, look, don't you want a duck? Mommy will get you a duck. Say, nah, Mom's not getting me a duck. What's the matter? Doesn't she love you? That one works every time. Anyway, so we need your help. So the QR codes on one side is to adopt ducks, so it's $10 $5 per duck. If you have a business, on the other side, we have sponsorships, and that's everything from $250 on up. Again, all going to a great cause. So if you can help us spread the word, take it home, adopt your ducks, let your friends know. The website's up 24/7. We've had ducks adopted from all 50 states, I think, so far. So tell your friends, spread the word, and we look forward to seeing you on June the 5th. Thank you.
All right, thank you, George. I have to say, I hate following George. Don't have that sense of humor, but okay. All right, you all have just really, as George pointed out, you all have been terrific supporters of the duck race for a dozen years or so that we've had it. And we certainly appreciate all of that support. And I'm sure that you all will come out again this year and support us and help those charitable organizations that have had such a rough year during the course of the pandemic. Okay, so moving on, let's talk a little bit about upcoming attractions here, if we will. We're not going to do anything during the summer. We typically don't. And hopefully, with a little bit of luck, all of us will have an opportunity to go visit some of those places or see some of your family and friends that perhaps you haven't seen in the past year or so. So nothing happens during the summer. So the duck race will be the duck race. The speaker series will be back in September, on September 20th. It seems like that duck race is on my mind here. So we'll be back September 22nd, Wednesday, September 22nd. Our speaker that evening will be Tommy Baker from Baker Motors. And I dare say most everybody in this room certainly knows of Tommy. He's a local guy. I don't know whether you knew that or not. He's a local guy, grew up in Mount Pleasant. He joined the Marines right after high school. Then he went, once he got out of the Marines, then he went to the Citadel. And then a few years later, he started Baker Motor Company in 1988. And Baker Motors, you know, sells everything. Mercedes, Ford, and Cadillac, you name it, they probably sell it. And he's got locations all over the place in Charleston, Somerville, even out in Wilmington, North Carolina. And he also has a kind of philanthropic side, which I'd like him to talk about, or hope he will talk about as well. He's got a passion for the MUSC Children's Hospital downtown. He creates scholarships for students at both the College of Charleston and the Citadel. And he was also instrumental in saving the, remember that tall ship, the Spirit of South Carolina? He was instrumental in saving that. So I'm hoping Tommy will talk about all of that kind of stuff when he joins us in September. Okay, before I introduce Matt, one last little thing. This is a little bit new format, so we're gonna, on the Q&A, hopefully at the end of this, we're gonna have time for some questions. And what I'll do is I'll have a microphone, I think, and there it is. And I'll walk around out here in the audience. Kind of wait for me to get to you before you're asked your question. And the reason is it will help the rest of us in the room hear your question, but also hopefully the Zoomers, the ones who have joined us via Zoom, will be able to hear as well. So for those of you in the crowd, wait for me. For those of you who are on Zoom, you have your little chat buttons down at the bottom, so submit your questions via chat. And so the game plan would be to take a couple of questions here from the floor, and then hopefully Mary Jo can help me feed me a couple of questions from the folks who are on Zoom. So in theory, that's the way this is going to work. Okay, now on to the main program. Matt Sloan obviously needs very little introduction to this group. I think all of us certainly know of Matt if you don't know him personally. We have probably had an opportunity to meet him at some of the little annual meetings that he does, talking about the state of the island that he's done throughout the years. Perhaps we've met him at the club, and some of us have had the opportunity to work with Matt on the Daniel Island Community Fund over the years, which of course is that philanthropic organization that has initiatives for the support of organizations here on both Daniel Island and in the neighboring Cainhoy community. Matt's involvement with the island goes back to the early 90s. So he's been at this for about 25 years or so. And this place was nothing more than just kind of pasture land and hunting grounds and things of that sort. And as president of the Daniel Island Company, his job was basically to develop the island. And I don't know about you, but when I think about development, what do you think about? I think about buildings, I think about roads, that sort of stuff. But a developer does a whole lot more than that. And he has to be worried about things as, you know, honoring the surrounding environment, being good stewards of all the natural resources that are around here on the island, drawing people together in the community for events sort of like this, and basically bettering the region's quality of life. And Matt has certainly done that in spades. And I dare say, Matt has a vision, and we see that in this island. And I dare say that for many of us, the reason we're here is because we saw that vision and we liked it, and we chose Daniel Island as our home. But now with development on the island kind of winding down and Matt's focus kind of shifting over to Barnes Crossroads in Somerville and Hope Point up there on Clemens Ferry Road, we thought it might be an opportunity for him to share with us a few of the things that have happened over the course of his 25-year tenure here on the island. And I guess that would include the sale of the island by the Guggenheim family, the building of 526, and then the big battle between Charleston and Mount Pleasant and North Charleston over who was going to get to incorporate Daniel Island. So there's lots of history that's taken place in a relatively short period of time. And then finally, the last thing that I just want to make is that Matt is passionate about community service and giving back to his community. And there's a long list of boards that he's been on over the course of the years. I'll just give you a couple of them. He's been on the boards of the YMCA, the Charleston Metro Chamber of Commerce, the Berkeley County Chamber, Porter Goud, Tri-County Cradle to Career, and of course, the Daniel Island Community Fund. So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Matt Sloan.
Thank you for having me. This is my first time in front of a group of people in over a year. My first time taking my mask off. You keep yours on. Yes, sir. There's a lot of Rotarians in this room. It's been an honor to work with your Rotary Club over the years and support your philanthropic efforts, your community service efforts, and I say that from the heart. So I was going to do, normally when I'm in front of a large group of residents, I do kind of a dry presentation, and there's metrics like how many things are for sale, what are they selling for, how many days on market, what's the next phase being developed, blah, 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 blah. And I decided, this is for talking with Steve, that we would just do something different tonight. So first thing is I wanted to introduce myself. I know many of you, but I don't know all of you. So I'm Matt Sloan. I'm a native New Yorker. I've been here actually since 1991. I moved here at the bequest of the Guggenheim Foundation to help start this place. So it's been 30 years for me. It's been 25 years for you guys. That's when residents started to move in. So I've had several great honors in my life. One is to be a loving husband. Two is to be a father. And three is to take this community from raw dirt into a fully planned master plan community that is now essentially complete. So I'll come back to that. So thank you very much for having me. Jeff, what am I doing here? No, here he goes. Okay, well, I just basically spoke to that slide. So this slide is called, how did we get here? Like, I know how I got here. And I have some idea how many of you got here because you live in Massachusetts. The winter is cold and you come down here and then root for the Red Sox. Oh, come on, we all know it. So this island was part of a larger land assemblage called Canoy Plantation, which still exists and it's still in family hands. But when Harry Guggenheim passed in 1971, he established a charitable foundation that researches the causes of violence and aggression in society. And he bequeathed Daniel Island to that foundation. So that's how we got started. There was some early planning work, but what triggered all of our growth was former Mayor Riley annexed Daniel Island into the city, kind of in a midnight special city council meeting on New Year's Eve. Some of you were around then. It was involuntary. The head of the Guggenheim Foundation got a phone call saying, look, you don't know me, but my name is Joe Riley. I'm the mayor of Charleston, and I've just annexed you into the city. And that's a true story. And that's kind of how I got here. The foundation said, what the heck does this mean? And the firm that I was with was run by a former professor of mine and also one of the Guggenheim family members when we were at Columbia together. And we got hired to say, is this annexation a good thing or a bad thing? And if it's a good thing, let's make the best deal we can. And there was, Steve mentioned this earlier, there was some other static about maybe Mount Pleasant's a better place, maybe North Charleston's a better place, but it became very clear that Mayor Riley had a strong vision for this community, and he was willing to invest in infrastructure and work with us on what at the time was very progressive zoning. So we started that process in 1991 after we finished our annexation. We did our master planning and completed it in 1993, got it approved by the city. Then we got to go out and get our environmental entitlements, which here on Daniel Island were not much because this was all agrarian. I mean, this land right where you are now was just a cattle ranch, and then the whole south side was a farm. So there weren't a lot of wetlands or endangered species or anything like that to worry about. We broke ground here in 1995. Our first residents moved in 1996. You'll see a slide about that in a second. And then this was a really different place because Mark Clark, my first time here, the Mark Clark was half built. The bridge over to Mount Pleasant kind of stopped in mid-span. And amazingly, I guess South Carolina, they let you drive up on it. So we in our early years, we came in via Thomas Island. So Clementary Road, make a left, go by the old soccer stadium, which sadly is not there anymore. But in 2000, the interchange opened, Mark Park was done, and we were able to go to the next level, and that's kind of what made everything happen. And then the last bullet here is our key Daniel Island partnership. If any of you bought home sites, you bought them from an entity called Daniel Island Associates, doing business with Daniel Island Company, and we're done. We sold everything we have. There's a family partnership that's somewhat related off of Hussein Street. They have a small island. So that'll happen in the next couple of years. But basically, everything we set out to do in 1991, we have done. Hopefully we did it reasonably well. So these are, I've got no laser pointer or anything, so just bear with this. And there's another screen over there. But you all probably know right where this is. So this is the Wando River, circa 1990. That neighborhood that's just behind the sailboat is Smythe Park. Those are all home sites. You'll see a before and after shortly. Oh, and so that was all agrarian. Crops here were corn, wheat, soy. Deer were eating everything. One year we tried cotton, that didn't go so well. And then we gradually phased the farmer out. This is not the prettiest slide, but I think it's kind of interesting. And again, I wish I could point to things. Actually, does my mouse show up? Okay, so we're up here. And here's the south side, and then, oh gosh. This land here, Daniel Island is 4,000 acres, but in putting it in context, everything that's down at the south end here is spoil area, meaning it's dredge that's been pulled out of the rivers by the State Ports Authority. So that is 1,300 acres. So Daniel Island, as you guys know it, is 2,700 acres, which is a sizable community, a very large part of the city of Charleston. So here's some shots that I'm familiar with, but many of you have probably never seen these. So that slide on the left is Codners Ferry Park, which was the first neighborhood on the island. And we'll see a before and after on that. And then I already pointed out Smythe Park, which is the one on the right. Many of you have probably been to our sales office at the end of Riverland Drive or River Landing Drive. So this is what it looked like when we got started there. I think we just started clearing land there. And you'll see another slide that shows kind of what it looks like now. So most of you, when you drove here tonight, you might have been on a street called Seven Farms Drive. All of our street names here are very genuine. So they're all tied to the history of the community. There's no like made up name. Everything has roots to it. And then kind of on the to-do list or the bucket list is to just, list all that so that the community can inherit that and understand, why do I live on a street called Mitchell Wharf or something like that. But we had 7 farms. This is before Harry Guggenheim assembled the property. He was the first person to own the property in its entirety since colonial times. So these are the names of the 7 farms. You'll see these integrated throughout the community. This is what Daniel Allen Drive looked like when I got here. So what were we growing here? I guess it's wheat. Yeah, and then we were basically creating deer food. So we did something on Daniel Island, and interestingly, we're doing the opposite at our Point Hope community off Clements Ferry Road. But we said, let's take the old road system and turn it into the permanent road system. So that old dirt road is Daniel Allen Drive. At the Point Hope community, we're doing it differently. We're saying, let's keep the old logging roads as trails and work our roads around that. But this is what things looked like back in the day. Did I jump over one? That's Daniel Allen Drive again. This is number 2. For those of you that golf, this is number 2 Beresford. Some of you would know that tree and may have hit into it. But we had several hundred head of cattle here, and they stayed here up until the day we broke ground on the golf courses. And then I don't really know what happened from there. This is the original entrance to Daniel Allen Park. It's kind of lined up behind the seniors housing development by the second roundabout. And it's not there anymore, obviously. So this island was like the honey hole of all deer hunting in this part of South Carolina. And being invited to hunt deer here was, highly, highly coveted. And it was run by Henry Smythe, who we named the neighborhood after. You can see his plaque by the lake at Smythe Park. And they hunted with dogs and shotguns. So there'd be kind of 25 blue blood Charlestonians and a whole pack of deer dogs chasing deer. And they called themselves the Swiss cheese line because more often than not, the deer, broke through. And then this was their kind of center of life on Saturdays. That was the town hall is a fancy term for skinning shed. That's Mr. Smythe on the left with Mr. Murray, who was Harry Guggenheim's caretaker. Both these gentlemen have since passed, but this was their passion. So again, the theme is how do we get here? So what Mayor Riley figured out was he could somehow annex Daniel Island into the city, even though Daniel Island was not contiguous to the city. He left across the river. He found some neighboring property owners sort of towards Clements Ferry Road. And if 75% of the tax base agrees, then you're annexed. And we could have argued that out in court, but chose not to. that the mayor was willing to bring water and sewer here, and he had a strong vision for this place that I think everything we've done here reflects some version of his vision. He's a gifted person. But okay, so this was his little Louisiana purchase. We edited this about 2 hours ago because the newspaper actually called it Little Joe's Louisiana Purchase, and we thought that would be disrespectful. But that was front page of the newspaper at the time, and I'm figuring that since I'm being filmed, this thing's going to live on the internet. So Mark Clark Expressway that you guys use every single day. It had been in the works for 20 years. It opened in 1993. And then, as I mentioned, the interchange, which is basically the front door to this community, opened up in 2000. This is not telling you anything you don't already know, but there is the Mark Clark Expressway. It basically, the way you got here before the Mark Clark is you would take the old Cooper River Bridge, which some of you would remember. You would drive all the way through Mount Pleasant, which kind of ended around where Snee Farm is. You'd make a left on Highway 41 and you'd sort of double all the way back. It took you kind of about an hour. And now, given traffic, it's not bad. We'd like to think we're 20 minutes from everything. This is when we got involved. We helped lay out this master plan, and Mayor Riley said, look, I don't want a replica of downtown Charleston, but I want a community that has a balance of uses. So we kind of were some of the first ones to use the term sustainable. And sustainable to us at that time did not mean, necessarily green or recyclable projects and products and things like that. But it was meant to be a balance of uses that benefit and prosper from their relationship with one another. So every time a new resident would move in, that makes it easier for a business to make a go of it. And every time a business opens, that makes it more attractive to new residents. And if I know one thing, we've consistently stuck with that for basically 25 years since we started. So this is part of our chapter. How many of you all were here when the port stuff was going on? Yeah, not that much. So I'll take a second. And so the port owned that property that I showed you on that kind of graphic slide, and they got in their heads that they wanted to build a terminal there. In fact, the terminal that just opened last week in North Charleston was supposed to be here. They called it the Global Gateway. It scared the heck out of everyone. I'm going to show you a scary slide in a second. Long story short, it didn't happen, and it's not going to happen. And now they have a far better facility in North Charleston that has rail access, which then on that would have been very, very difficult. There's the Global Gateway. And I don't know if Jim Newsom's in the room, and if he is, I apologize. He's a friend, but the Post and Courier published this, and it scared the heck out of the entire Charleston region, and ultimately led to it being conserved for other uses. The port will continue to own their land, but they will use it for dredge disposal, which it's like the MasterCard commercial. For all of us, that doesn't mean anything. For them, it's priceless, but they need a place to put it, otherwise they got to ship it offshore. So that's the Global Gateway. This is kind of what put us on the map. So Bishop England High School, I'm sure some of you have children that are in school there. They used to be located on Calhoun Street. They were right next to the College of Charleston. They were jammed on 4 acres. They couldn't do all the stuff that, high schools want to do, like have sports teams and things like that. And we kind of sniffed around and realized that the College of Charleston was interested in buying it and helped broker that deal. And the money that they got from the college paid for their facility here, which we donated. So we gave them 44 acres of land. They were the first people to ever commit to Daniel Island, actually. Within a year and a half, we were having Friday Night Light football games and things like that, and people were coming from all over the region. So Kind of one of the best things we've ever done. That's their new campus. You guys all know this. You can see Etowah Park in its early stages. So many of you probably see Charleston magazine. This is what it used to look like in the 1990s. It was a shadow of what it is right now. But our early marketing efforts, this was kind of a coup for us because most of the issue was devoted to Daniel Island and our story. And boy, Dalen's come a long way, and that magazine's equally come this long way. This is my coup. I somehow, I was working in a law office downtown. I'm not a lawyer, but I was bunking there with this Mike law firm. And the receptionist, I was talking to her, and she said, "You see my dad?" And I said, "Well, what does he do?" And she said, "He gets to pick the phone book cover." So a beer or two later, and we were able to end up on the phone book. And so there's no young people here, so everyone knows what a phone book is. But if you remember, it used to arrive on your doorstep. So every home in the Charleston region got this thing sitting on their doorstep. And you know, the back of the phone book back at the time for one of the law firms that does traffic injury suits, that was $125,000, and the irony is the cover is free. This is our first brochure. Not much to say there, just, you know, it shows how we've evolved. This is Sally. Where is she? First sales agent here, sold the first house. This is her first office. We were talking about this the other night. She showed up for work here the first day, and her sales manager and her found a black lab under that trailer, which is still there, and adopted it, named it Daniel. The sales manager did. But Sally has sold more real estate on this island than anyone. It's a staggering 25-year run. Thank you, Sally. Okay, early neighborhoods. So this is another fun fact. Our initial partner here was the Piggly Wiggly supermarket chain. And we put in the land on behalf of the Guggenheim Foundation. They put in the capital, and we built Codnor Ferry Park and Etowah Park. They had an entity called Greenbacks, that some of you might remember. Etowah Park, circa 1999. You can see the houses have not, you know, fully lined the park yet. Oops, sorry. Next step. So this island was owned by a foundation. Foundations are allowed to own real estate. They can buy it, they can sell it, but when you start cutting it up into 65-foot wide lots and selling it to people from Massachusetts, you start to you start to look like a developer. The foundation needed to go, and we went to them. We were their management team and said, "Well, if it's time for you to leave, how about we try and, you know, put together something to buy it and carry on your legacy and your vision, and, you know, maybe if we do our jobs properly, it'll add value to your other holdings off Clements Ferry Road." And that's basically what happened. So that is the Daniel Company, which is myself, my partner Frank Brumley, and the Brumley family out of Atlanta. So we are the development phase of the community. We brought in outside equity to accelerate it. We were building basically one street at a time. I'd get a street built, sell 6 lots, get a little money back, build another street, and it was going to take 100 years. So we brought in the Trammell Crow family, and we were in 2001 able to, actually no, earlier than that, 1998, we were able to exponentially increase what we were allowed to do. That's how we got this club built. We launched Barfield Park, Center Park, and Cochran Park all at the same time. And, you know, we hit the market at a good period. So I showed you this before. So that's Smythe Park. Some of you live there. That's what it is now. So all done. There's Smythe Park again. Dane Island Interchange opened, as I mentioned, in 2000. That enabled us to kind of start our town. But as you can see from the slide, there's nothing there. The first building that went up is the building where my office is above the Synovus branch. Synovus was our lender. They were called MBSC at the time. We also were able to launch Dane Island Park. So we used our partnership funds to build our first golf course and build the first portion of this clubhouse. This clubhouse was not always this big. It was really just where Harry's is back when we started. This is a nice quote from Tom Fazio. If you like golf, take a second and read it. But I always fancied this as an in-town country club, and we didn't really understand what he meant by that. So we asked him to write something. But it's sort of like you live in a city, and the best part of town is often where the country club is, and that's what we set out to do here with Tom's assistance. So that's Tom, second from the left. Some of you know Rick Herger. He's wearing the striped shirt. He actually designed. Why he doesn't promote this, I don't know. He's one of the sales agents down in real estate, but he designed the Beresford Free course. That's me on the right. Just some golf shots. Clubhouse evolution. So here's the clubhouse before there was a clubhouse. There's the first phase of it that I mentioned. So tiny. We didn't have a deep bench of people that knew anything about running a country club. I was the ranking expert, and I think I knew nothing. But I was clearing out some books, and I bought every book about country clubs and golf course design and everything. And we started this, and I'm going to pin this one on my partner, Frank, because we didn't have any room for events. We didn't have this. And he made the comment that, well, people want a place for their little girl to get married. There's plenty of places downtown. It didn't dawn on us at the time that weddings are actually profitable. So when we hired Greg Keating, who most of you know, he came walking in the building, and that's all there was. And he's like, "How are you guys going to do weddings here?" And we said, "Well, we weren't really planning on it." And he said, "You're crazy. That's what's going to. Golf will never make money. Weddings will, and corporate conferences will help support the place." So Greg talked sense into us. This is the second generation of it with this wing that's off to the right-hand side, and that's the final one. Then we built the Ralston Creek course. So that's it's me again, actually. I was pretty good. And that's Reese Jones in the middle. We are the only private country club in the country with Reese Jones and Tom Fazio on the same property. And if you are not a golf person, that means nothing. But if you are a golf person, it means a lot. The shot of Ralston Creek. A little bit about business growth. I'm trying to move this along quickly. That's River Landing Drive before it was River Landing Drive. There's the sales center just sitting there by itself. We took a gamble. Instead of putting the sales center up by the interchange, we said, let's just put it on the prettiest piece of property that we can get to. And that area that's now called the waterfront is completely transformed. You can see there's a rendering of what it will be like. There are the new dock amenities that are now essentially open. Building downtown, so there's Seven Farms Drive, and that's on the right-hand side, what was to become the Family Circle Tennis Center. Fun fact, the Leedy restaurant used to be called Tecklenburg's. It was built by the mayor. It was sort of a quasi lunch counter general store. And if you go into Leedy, you'll see his name engraved into the tile at the entrance. There it is. So he's quite proud of that. If you see him, just mention it to him. So early downtown. So this is pre-Family Circle. This is pre-Publix. It took 10 years to get Publix here. We went through a period of controversy. We had affordable housing goals. that we take seriously. We've met and exceeded them, but this one development was somewhat controversial in the sense that it was done with tax credits, and we made a decision to put it at the corner of Main and Main instead of tucking that type of development out of sight, out of mind. And it drew a lot of ire, but that development has won every award that it possibly could be eligible for. So we go back to like pre-internet, and so this is how we had to communicate. And I think that article on the left was written by me, but we would do this every month, and now we just do eat less. A bunch of you are wearing the Dane Club logo here, at least if you're not, their pro shop will be open after we're done. But that is on the right-hand side is my partner, Frank. Left-hand side is Mayor Joe Riley, and in the middle is Philip Simmons, who was arguably one of the most prominent artisans ever to come out of Charleston. If you have a house downtown and your gate was designed by Philip Simmons, that's the first thing you put in your listing. And Philip was born here. He was born, I'll use golf reference again, right-hand side of number 13, Ralston Creek. I had the pleasure of becoming friendly with him and spending a day, reminiscing and taking him to his own old family homestead. And he designed the logo. I had the privilege again of being there at his forge. And so we use it to the day. And the original is at Philip Simmons Park here. And then we have a collection of his work that we're donating to or putting on loan to the Philip Simmons schools on Clements Ferry Road. Some beautiful prints. Early things we did just to drive interest. I'm going to go fast, Steve. Race for the Cure. They were downtown. They were bursting at the seams. The city wasn't going to give them permits to grow any bigger. We brought them here and had that tradition for quite some time. Charleston Battery, I don't like talking about this one because I drove by the stadium yesterday and it was a total bummer. But the Battery played here for many years. They helped put us on the map, and now they play out of Patriots Point. This was a big one. The Family Circle Cup, now called the Volvo Car Open. They played at Hilton Head at Sea Pines Plantation. They were 1 week away from the Heritage Golf Tournament, which was just played this past weekend. And then the team there had to set up all these temporary facilities on a crazy schedule. And it was just making everyone nuts. And we were able to go to them and say, well, if you want to stay in South Carolina, why don't we try and figure something out? So we were able to help put together a public-private partnership with the city, the state, the county, their company, which you used to work for, and our company. And it's been a great run. There's a little concert in the park thing. So a lot of you guys and women are Rotarians. It's our greatest honor, as I said earlier, that the Dane Community Fund, of which I think Steve's a board member still, and there's probably another one or two in the room. We really enjoy supporting Rotary, and Rotary makes it so easy because unlike a lot of charities, the Rotarians kind of figure out what they want to do for the year. So they come in once and say, this is what we want to do, and this is what we're going to raise, and then we're either matching, or am I saying this properly? Either matching or just supplementing. This Dane Community Fund, by the way, it's endowed by a community enhancement fee on resales. So if you bought a new house, you didn't pay it, but if you buy a a previously owned home or home site, you paid half a point to this, and then this money goes to either, about a third of it goes to sponsoring community events, and then the rest of it all goes to charity. And we have a very, very successful giving record. I think last year, Steve, was just under $1 million. I'm sorry, I thought you were the economist in the room. So we just spent these slides on how did we get here, and this is where are we now? I mentioned this, we've completed all of our infrastructure on Dane Island proper. There is a small little island, as I mentioned before. We basically sold all of the commercial things downtown. We are pretty sure that we broke the 25-mile mark on our trail system. Something we worked really, really hard on was to have educational opportunities for kids of all ages, and that was not easy. But the school on the south side, the public school on the south side is K through 8. We didn't have room for a giant public high school, but we had Bishop England here. And then in a moment of insanity, we decided to build and operate a preschool, which I think Marvin's in the room. But we had a wonderful partner, Marvin Jenkins, and I think we turned the Dane Island Academy into a smashing success. No thanks to us on the development side, all thanks to Marvin and Kerry, who are somewhere here. So I think this is my last slide. So this is what we wanted. We didn't want to be a subdivision. We wanted to be a submarket. And that's real estate mumbo jumbo. But we wanted to enter the local lexicon in the way that, and we knew we'd have to grow into this. So we wanted Daniel Island to be somewhat synonymous from a vernacular standpoint as James Island, John's Island, Sullivan's Island. And we knew it was going to take a long time, but I think we've accomplished that. So my team is very, very, very proud of this. It's a good time to live here, by the way. There's nothing for sale. So some of you are probably getting unsolicited offers on your homes. So enjoy it while it lasts. That's all I got.
Thank you for that. Wonderful. I think I've been here a little while and I know something about this. I didn't know it. Still, now I do. So thank you for that. Ready to take a few questions?
If they're nice questions.
Everybody, I just want to hand over here first. I'll come to direction for the first nice question. You sure?
Thanks, Matt. That's very agreeable. The question I wanted to ask relates to the island property off of State Street. One of your slides indicated that at least 2022. I know the preliminary plat was approved by the city a year and a half ago. Just a week or two ago, whoever's developing went back for the second approval for phase 1, which was 31 with the original 62 lots part of that. And there's still that causeway, I guess. I just wanted to be more specific about the timing for building that road going across the marsh, for developing phase 1, with the maybe 31 lots. And my second part is that property part of the.
Yes, that property is. Just let me clarify. I'm not involved with that. That's being handled by other staff, so I'm not expert on it. But it is part of the Dane Island Park Association. So the people who live there will be just like everybody else in Dane Island Park. And the timing is really tied to permits. I wish it was underway right now. The timing would have been so beautiful. Hopefully we're not lined up for the next recession or something. But it's going to be 62 lots done in 2 phases. What else, Steve?
Got Bill over here.
Bill's putting the solar system in my new home. So I'm not expecting this one to be too painful.
Just wait.
Just wait till you get the bill.
You're all about negotiations, man. So I believe, I don't think I'm alone in this crowd, but I just heard a best-selling coffee table book. I bet you there's at least 100 people in here that love to have that story in paperback for all time. So join me, everybody, if you're interested in that. This is exactly what thank you very much.
Sadly, my marketing department is not here right now, think that the head of it is on that Zoom call right there. So your message was heard.
Hey, Matt, my wife and I have been on this farm since 2004. Both of our kids have grown up through the down school system and now at DE. So the first thing I want to say is thank you. This has been a phenomenal place for us to raise our kids and to live as a family. The second thing I would ask is way back when Governor Stanford had mentioned something about like trying to create a Central Island Park kind of thing where the port property was. Is there any more talk on that, or is that just going to be a kind of a spoils place?
There's not any more talk about that. It's not going to be a port. Parts of it are now a park, as you know. I mean, if you go down Oak Overhang, there's playing fields and things like that there. Port, I believe, is seeking to turn part of it into a salt marsh mitigation bank. So restore old marsh. Clouder Creek, if any of you boat, used to run through there. But it's going to be open space in some way, shape, or form.
I thought I would just take a question here that Mary Jo has handed me from one of the folks online on Zoom. What are you most proud of in the development of Daniel Island, and what is your biggest disappointment?
Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah, that's a hard question.
No, I've been asked this before. So what I'm most proud of is that we have covered so many different price points on this island in terms of the houses and the apartments and the condos and the townhomes. We have things that range from government subsidized to some of the most expensive homes in the Charleston area and everything in between. And that doesn't happen in every community. And it took a lot of work. But we'd like to think that there's something out here for most anybody. I'm very proud that we have so many multi-generational families here, meaning sometimes mom and dad live in the big house and their children who are growing a family live in a small one. Lately, it's like flip of it. The young people are in the big house and the parents are being stuffed in a condo. So my biggest regret is I think we had opportunities here to do vertical development, and the public center, many of you know this, but we sold that off. I wish we had kept control of it. It went into foreclosure. It was two different lenders, and it had struggled for a period of time, and that would have been a really good legacy asset for our company.
Okay, little technical glitch. I understand that the Zoomers out there, that's not a derogatory term, by the way. Folks who are joining us via Zoom are unable to hear the question, Matt. So whether it comes from me or from the floor, so if you could make some attempt to repeat the question, that would be great. Some of them are long. Keep your questions short, okay? All right, this one's easy. You can remember this. How will Point Hope compare to Daniel Island, and what will it look like? When will it be finished?
So Point Hope, which is, you can almost see it from here. It's a 9,000 acre community. As I mentioned earlier, Daniel Island is 2,700 acres, the Daniel Island that we know. Of the 9,000 acres at Point Hope, half of it is wetlands that will be permanently put into conservation. A bunch of it will be in a conservation easement. So call that 4,500 acres compared to the 2,700 acres we had here, which took basically 30 years. So it's going to be a long time. Please come visit. A lot of you probably have been there. There's really nice Publix there. And by the way, the Publix here is getting upgraded. Come visit. What we're trying to do is that land is owned by 3 different Guggenheim entities, and they, given their family history, like things with a contemporary expression versus classical. So the products that are being developed there, you'll see it if you come visit our information center, which is called the Hub, all have a little bit more of a eclectic air to them. We are very blessed. It took forever to get schools here on Daniel Island. And before the first resident moved in at Point Hope, which was just a few weeks ago, we had kindergarten all the way through 12th grade there. It took 10 years to get a supermarket here. So we had a supermarket there before the first person moved in. And, you know, we're trying to do it a little bit kind of edgy. Price points there are lower than Daniel Island, but a lot higher than I expected them to be. But we're in one of those markets right now.
Okay, let's go back to the floor. A couple of questions from you guys here in the club. All right, coming over here.
Be nice.
Yeah, I'll try. I'm wondering, Matt, if you would care to tell us about how Spa acquired the property on Daniel Island, and or do you think that's the next question?
No, that's fine. It's actually an easy one to answer, and I haven't been asked that in a while, Bobby, so thank you for bringing it up. So the Port Authority approached the Guggenheim Foundation in New York back in right after we annexed into the city. And they said, we want this land, and you're going to sell it to us. If not, we'll use our eminent domain authority. So they had that option. And then you just they basically would own it immediately, and then you just fight over what the sales price is. So we got to a sales price. This was just the Cooper River side, and it was okay. You know, we worked out noise, light, sound agreements. Nobody really wanted it, but you know, there was a gun to the head. But then they came back years later and said, we want the Wando side now, and that's the Global Gateway slide that I showed you. And people went crazy about it, including the entire town of Mount Pleasant, with trucks, traffic, visual impact. And we said, all right, you know, we'll give you this land, but you got to build this interchange. And that's how the interchange got built. Fun fact.
We got more here. I'm over here, okay.
I'd say,
Well, Matt, so you all don't know, this is what I'm old. So stand up. I've been here a long time. Look that old, but I've been here. Some of the best people I have ever met in my life are in this. Some of the very best. Matt will tell you that we have had our discussion. When we got finished, that's what it is on Daniel Island, is a Matt creation. He was awesome in everything that he did, everything we wanted to do, the things that we have on Daniel Island is because he fought for them and he got what he wanted. We even went from the church. He even tried to get me a church. We went from the children. We tried to get a school in Daniel Island. Remember those conferences at the school when the women and the men came in and said, how come we do not have a school? That's why it took us so long to get those houses, because they didn't want to buy a house without a school. And we finally got a school. So everything that we have here is because we had a man like that at the head to get it done. And he had some good people working with him. So I told him tonight when I came in here, I said, I had to come here to congratulate you for what you were able to get done. And he's still working hard, even though his hair goes gray now.
so yours.
Right. And that he put in the Daniel Island is what brought me here, because I saw a sign in the magazine that says, come to Daniel Island, Daniel Island town. Yes, and that's what brought my husband and I here. We built a house, and, he said, well, tell them what you want and they'll build it. And my favorite lady, Daniel, this lady who's sitting right here to my left, she told me how she walked around in muddy boots trying to get people to buy houses, and she's still here, and we are so blessed with Sally. But most of all, we're blessed for the Daniel Rotary Club. And because of the Rotary Club, I'm still here, and I'm still working with the Rotary Club, and I'm still on Daniel Island in the plus 55 building. So if you want to know where you go next, I'll be back with you and have something. Oh,
Man, I don't know about you. That sounds like a real high note.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
I just want to say one thing. I hope I didn't use the word "I" too often. That's not my nature. I'm more about we. And all of you that live here or own business here should consider themselves blessed because there's a crackerjack team of professionals, some of whom are in this room over there. And you know that's what makes things happen. My job is just to support them. But thank you for your kind words.
Matt, again, thank you for sharing all your insights this evening. I'm sure all of us will see you around from time to time. Good luck on 0.0 and conference. Thank you all. 2 September.